From the center of the universe, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, this is the SDM Show with your host, Rob Cairns. The SDM Show focuses on business, life, productivity, digital marketing, WordPress, and more. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. Here is Rob.
Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here. I'm the founder, CEO, and chief creator of Amazing Ideas of Stunning Digital Marketing. In today's podcast, I have Javitas from HostInger with me today, and we're going to talk about a really great topic, why WordPress. Grab a drink, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. This episode of the SDM Show is sponsored by Stunning Digital Marketing, the agency to handle all your WordPress website security needs. Go on over to stunningdigitalmarketing.com and find out how we can help you secure your website so you no longer have an issue with backups, being hacked, or your website being compromised. That's stunningdigitalmarketing.com. Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here. Today I'm here with my friend Javitas Moskalunas from HostInger. How are you today, Javitas?
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm very glad to be here.
Such a pleasure to have you. We had such a great conversation a couple of weeks ago, and I'm glad you're here too. So that's a good thing. Before I dive into the wonderful world of WordPress, I always like to ask people, and I'm going to put you on the spot, on what your WordPress origin story is. How'd you get into WordPress?
Oh, that's a very good question. Everything started around 10 years ago or something like that. I've been myself always an online hustler. And to step up, I had to learn how to create websites. So around 10 years ago, when I was working in a sushi restaurant as a sushi chef, I decided that I have to do something more and I should create a website. And that website was a blog. It was supposed to be a blog. And everyone were talking that I should try WordPress. And I just tried WordPress and I started my first website that was a blog about sushi.
That's a good story. That's often the way we get into this business is we start because we have a need ourselves and then realize we like it so much and then we move forward with it, right? It's kind of interesting.
Absolutely. Once you start, you just can't get enough of it.
Yeah. What I'll say is it's a really exciting time to be in the community. I mean, we just had to release the 6.1.1. I had the pleasure recently of sitting down with Matthias Ventura, who's the lead Gutenberg lead and well known in this space, and had a really good chat with him. There's a lot going on. We've got blocks. We've got, as Brian Gardner has termed it, modern WordPress, if you want to call it that. So, Javitas, I was saying it's a wonderful time to be in WordPress. We have modern WordPress, as Brian Gardner has termed it, with all the blocks, Gutenberg. I had a really good chat with Matthias Ventura lately, the lead for the Gutenberg project. I think this time has opportunity written all over it. How do you feel about WordPress right now in the ecosystem?
I feel amazed by the job the guys are doing. I can clearly remember myself when I started using WordPress 10 years ago. And when you compare it to WordPress with today's version, I'm just amazed by amazing job they are doing. And I just can't wait for the future updates. And I'm very excited.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of changes being made. I mean, I moved to the block ecosystem about a year ago now. I do all my development that way. I don't use a traditional page builder. So what I would argue is Gutenberg blocks and the add-ons like Generate Press or Cadence. Really, it's another form of a page builder, just I think a little more optimized, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm still personally getting used to Gutenberg blogs. I'm still that type of a guy who likes to use page builders. But yeah, I can see that I'm gonna move to this option quite soon because it's already in there. So that's great.
I did it. I actually did it the hard way. Regular listeners will know. I took my site and I moved a large content site piece by piece on a live site to Gutenberg. And as I always say to other people, don't do what I did, please. Make a staging site. But the reality of it all was I had over 200 podcast episodes, and trying to manage changing content every week and everything else just made it almost, from a content management perspective, a tough job. So
Yeah, I just can't imagine.
yeah, it was a fun project. What I wanted to get into today, and we sort of talked a little bit about a couple of weeks ago, was right now there's a lot of small business owners who are saying, why should I do WordPress? What's the value in WordPress? There's Wix, there's Weebly, there's Squarespace in the e-commerce space. So why WordPress, in your opinion?
I believe WordPress is the most versatile content management system, without doubt. I guess, when you look from this perspective that I started with WordPress, and just like a lot of us started with WordPress, of course, we're gonna say WordPress should be your main choice. But in my opinion, WordPress is the king, and you're not making a miss if you're gonna choose WordPress. You can start with blog, or you can create a business website, you can create an e-commerce website. Probably not probably, but basically all opportunities, possibilities are limitless with WordPress. And when you look at other options, for some reason, I just feel that some of them, they are trying to copy WordPress success. That's just how I feel.
Yeah,
What's your opinion?
That's a really good feeling. Mine is versatility, but my other reason is the community. The WordPress community, to me, is what makes it tick. So it's a wonderful community where I find interesting. It's the only space I know where competitors actually talk to each other. So you take your business, the hosting business, and you're with Hostinger. A lot of the host companies sit down around tables and have these conversations. It's not like, oh, we're better than you. We need to concentrate on our stuff because we need the business. They're all communicating. And the plugin companies are the same, and the theme companies are the same. And frankly, the developers and the designers are the same. And to me, that makes WordPress a driving force, is the community behind it.
Totally agree on that. When you look from a certain perspective, you can see that there's a nice amount of competition going on, but again, there's this community, and it's nice to see that this is the type of synergy going on. I really like this that's going on. And actually, when looking from Hostinger's perspective, yeah, we actually do listen to people. And it's interesting to hear, from our customer side, why they choose WordPress and so on. And without doubt, it's the most popular choice. And actually, for some reason, people think that WordPress is easy. Yeah, I think you would say that it's actually easy, because you have experience. I have experience.
Yeah, I would agree to a point. I still think, though, if you're going to do a website for a business, you probably do want to hire a designer or developer, because there is a cost to doing business if you do it yourself. So for say a store owner to do his own website, it's going to take him hours, where you or I could probably bang it out in a couple hours what he's looking for. So you always got to factor in expertise versus cost too, right?
Absolutely. And sometimes, I notice that some of the people get discouraged by the steep learning curve, I guess. And when they log into WordPress, they see a lot of different tools, and they just get discouraged. But actually, once you learn how to use this powerful tool, your possibilities are limitless. That's actually why I love WordPress, not just because of community, but it is extremely versatile content management system, just like you said yourself.
Yeah, I would agree. And what we have to remember is WordPress powers over 40% of the internet, and that's saying a lot. But one of the complaints I hear all the time, because I'm kind of in the security space, and you and I have talked about that, WordPress is insecure. How do you answer that?
I wouldn't say, I also hear this quite often that WordPress insecure. I guess that's the wrong expression. Not WordPress insecure, but probably the actions that the person who's controlling his website, his actions are not the most secure actions looking from this security perspective.
Yeah. And I would agree with you. I always say the weakest link in security is the human brain. And I mean that wholeheartedly, and not to be discouraging. Humans are the ones making the mistakes. They're the ones who are social engineered. They're the ones who don't use weak passwords. They're the ones who don't change their password. I think it's the human making the issues, not so much the platform.
Yes, absolutely. And this is like quite common saying, that it's not secure just because WordPress is so popular and there's so many people using it. And of course, there's going to be quite a lot of people who are failing, from their perspective. And we are talking about security.
Yeah, I would agree. It's funny. I was doing some work. I have a client who's moving a Shopify site to WooCommerce, and good on them, to be honest with you. And one of the reasons they're doing it is diversity and being able to expand their website. So Shopify kind of locks them in. But the other reason they're doing it is, I don't know if people are aware, the way Shopify works is if you use Shopify payments, you pay the standard 2.9% plus a transaction fee, which is pretty standard for most of us. But here's the thing. If you choose not to use Shopify's payment system and you want to use PayPal, you want to use Stripe, you want to use something else, they charge you another percentage on top of that. Isn't that kind of outrageous when you think about it?
Absolutely. That's just, I don't know. It's just crazy, especially when you're just starting out. Of course, you're going to look for the best choices, for the cheapest alternatives and everything. And the Shopify pulling these moves, I don't know, it just looks insane to me. I have tried Shopify myself. I didn't like it at all. I even moved my store to WooCommerce, and yeah, I totally get it. I didn't like Shopify, not just because their payment stuff back in the day it wasn't this aggressive, but I didn't like their platform at all, and lack of full control over your website. It's just crazy to hear about these moves that the Shopify is pulling off.
Yeah, it's so true. And then the other thing that's happened in the space this week, it's not really a WordPress issue, it's more a PHP issue. Unless you've been living under a rock for the last week, you would know that PHP 7.4 went end of life on the 28th of November. So that means there'll be no more support for PHP 7.4. 8.0 and 8.1 are kind of the most up to date. If it were me, personally, I'd be finding a way to move right to 8.1 just because the end of life date is longer. What's your feelings about the PHP changes?
I always like to keep everything to date, but when there's new updates, I usually like to wait at least a couple of months until everything works smoothly as it can get. But if there's no updates anymore, of course, the most logical thing would be to update your PHP version. That's just what I did myself, and that's exactly what I recommend to others. Yeah. I usually don't like to recommend to use the latest version, Mm-hmm. I usually like to use the second latest version.
I'm kind of the opposite. I try and move as soon as I can move. Just from a security perspective, I think it's better. At Hostinger, do you still allow clients to run 7.4 or earlier if they need to?
Yes, there's still an option, but we recommend to switch to the latest versions too. Just like you said, because of security and from my personal view, I like to use the latest option because just in case something goes wrong.
No, I understand that. So what's going on up at Hostinger? What are you guys doing with your web hosting company to kind of stand out from the rest of everybody else right now?
We actually like to say that we are here to offer you the best choice, looking from affordability perspective, but at the same time looking from the performance perspective. And I can even remember from the old days when I started a website. The price factor is quite important when you are just starting out, because you don't want to invest a lot of money in your first project.
Mm-hmm.
So that's quite important. So that's why we want to offer affordable but great services to people. And of course, we focus on helping people. Not just give them tools, but we try to teach them how to use those tools as well. That's why we have such channels as Hostinger Academy, loads of tutorials. People even have opportunity to choose live consultations with even with some of the people I'm working with, even with me. So that's probably how we try to stand out. Offering affordable but great services, and at the same time we just want to make sure that that you learn how to use this tool, the all tools we have to offer for you.
Where are you based? Where's Hostinger based?
We are based in Lithuania, and a good
Okay.
old Lithuania.
Nothing wrong with that. And are your data centers just in Lithuania, or they kind of spread out a little bit?
They are spread out, of course. They are spread out because we are a global company. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Which is always the best approach. Lithuania is kind of a tech hotspot, isn't it? There's a lot of tech in Lithuania.
Yeah. Nowadays, yeah.
It's just interesting to watch the trend on that one. Do you guys have any interesting products coming up down the road that you can share, or anything you want to share around the product?
Probably, it might not be the best place to share with you this tool, but actually, we do this just because we want to take care of our customers. So probably one of the most interesting and the latest products is website builder. We usually recommend to use WordPress, and my main focus is teaching people how to use WordPress and everything. But if people they find WordPress to use difficult, they can use website builder. But the funny thing is, once they try WordPress, they go to website builder, they jump back to WordPress. So usually WordPress is the best choice.
Yeah, I would agree. And the other thing that you announced recently was a alliance with PatchStack from a security perspective, which I found rather interesting. I know Oliver Sid a little bit. I've had him on the podcast before. Interesting story there. I know Robert Rowley quite a bit. He's the developer advocate up at PatchStack, and he does an amazing job. And shout out to those guys, because PatchStack is part of my security stack. So I found it really interesting that Hostinger made that alliance.
Yes, I was quite surprised too. I'm usually out of the dark, but once I see these things going on, I'm surprised too. I'm actually also excited about this new relationship going on. I'm really looking forward to everything. So that's quite
Yeah.
exciting too.
I think you couldn't. I mean, there's some really good security companies out there, and I think they're in the top 2 or 3, to be honest with you. So, in my opinion, and like you guys, PatchStack prides itself on helping people, and they continue to help people, and that's how they built their business. And I think that's the way to build any business, is help more people, and then they'll come to you because they'll appreciate what you're doing for them.
Yeah, that's totally. I totally agree. That's basically our values too. Helping people, and this just works. It's not a secret. If you help others, you're just gonna get something back, even if you're not looking for something back. So you just gotta be positive and help others.
Yeah, that's so true. What the other nice thing I've noticed, your team is getting more involved in the community these days, and I think there's a number of you that are kind of jumping in and getting involved in groups and in discussions like this one or a couple I've had recently, and I think you're starting to do that really well. And kudos to your team for caring about the global WordPress community.
Yes, yes, I could say the same. Kudos to the team.
Yeah, because I think you're doing a really good job. If somebody comes to you and says, okay, I want to start a WordPress website, comes to Hostinger, what road would you lead them down? There's a billion and one options, including call Rob. No, I'm kidding. but how would you lead them down that road to get them started?
First of all, I would find out what type of website they want to start. They are looking for. Is it going to be a business website, a blog, or e-commerce store? And then once they know what's the option they want to follow, of course, we have a lot of tutorials. There's a huge portion of these tutorials that I created myself, and probably I would send some videos. How to navigate your dashboard, how to get used to whole WordPress part, to the dashboard of WordPress, how to familiarize yourself, how to know what are the most important settings and other things. And of course, I would give this customer a course because I have created some course, actually not just one course so far, how to make a business website using WordPress. So that's the thing. I would recommend watching a course, but of course we have workshops. So here's another thing. We have workshops for beginners. So I guess that would be the first step to try a workshop, to just get your hands on the product itself, to see how our colleague makes a website, if it's a blog or a business website or e-commerce. So you would familiarize yourself a bit more with WordPress. And after you learn a bit more about WordPress, then it's time for you to explore it yourself, to try to navigate the dashboard, maybe install a theme, install some plugins, check how everything looks. Usually when people use themes, these themes, they come with demo content, especially if you are creating e-commerce store. I highly recommend to install some demo content, to understand the structure of your website. Just familiarize yourself to the whole website itself,
Mm-hmm. And then the other thing I always say to people is draw out what you want on a piece of paper too. It helps. I actually joke with clients. I carry a white paper pad in my bag just simply because I'm always forever drawing out stuff. So I think that's a good way to visually conceptualize things as well, right?
Absolutely. This is a really great suggestion. First you put it on a paper and then you put it online.
Yeah. And then they can get started. And the beauty in today's world is with WordPress, it used to be, I don't know if you remember the 5-minute install where you had to create a MySQL database and then you had to upload the files and then you had to put the database credentials in. Now on most hosts, you just push a button and away you go and it's done for you. Your install is magically done, right?
Yes, absolutely. I don't really remember those times. I guess it was longer than 10 years ago, but yeah, even then it was a little bit more complicated with everything, but now it's just easy.
Yeah, and what I would say too is if you're setting up that new website, do us all a favor, and if your host doesn't force you to change username, don't put the username admin in. Please change it quickly. But just do it right off the top because from a security perspective, you'll be better off for it. So do you have any other tips for somebody getting into WordPress? A couple quick tips of things they should do?
A couple of tips, let me think of. First of all, you got to be prepared, I guess, that there's going to be some things you got to learn. But, the first tip would be you should understand how to measure your project if it's successful. What is a successful project for you? You know, some people, they just create a website, they start getting some views if they have a blog or something like that, and within a year they give up. You know, that's just because they are not making any money or anything like that. If within 2 years or 3 years you're not making anything, I would say maybe then you can consider giving up. But you should know what is a success, you know. And now when we live in this world where social media influencers, they are showing you how to make money online, how to create a website, you know, they paint this huge, insane picture of successful website, and people suddenly start to think that, oh, my website is not getting like 100 visitors per day within a first year, and they consider their project unsuccessful. So that would be probably the most important tip, because I know this from experience, and yeah, just sometimes you just give up too soon, and you have something good at your hands and you just give up too soon.
Yeah, that's a great tip. If anybody wants to get a hold of you or Hostingers or the team up there, how's the best way?
The best way to get a hold of us is probably use our contact page. But if people want to contact me, they can look up me on LinkedIn. That's where I usually spend most of my time as a social media platform user.
Yeah, I get that. My social platforms are Twitter and LinkedIn. Notice I haven't mentioned the Facebook word in there. So I
actually use Facebook, but not for personal needs, but for my other projects, because there's still some juice left in Facebook.
Yeah, I hear you. Javidas, thanks for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Robert. It was really nice to talk to you.
Thank you. This episode of the SDM Show is sponsored by Stunning Digital Marketing, the agency to handle all your WordPress website security needs. Go on over to stunningdigitalmarketing.com and find out how we can help you secure your website so you no longer have an issue with backups, being hacked, or your website being compromised. That's stunningdigitalmarketing.com. A very special thank you to Javidas for joining me on this edition of the SDM Show. Thank you for listening to this edition of the SDM Show. The SDM Show is brought to you by Rob Cairns and Stunning Digital Marketing. For more information about Rob Cairns and Stunning Digital Marketing, go to stunningdigitalmarketing.info. From here, you can connect to us on social media, go to our website, and even go to the podcast to subscribe. This podcast is dedicated to my late father, Bruce Cairns. Dad, I miss you very much. Keep your feet on the ground. Keep reaching for the stars. Make your business succeed.